Welcome, I am Emir, and let's look back in hindsight. Is a high school musical movie really about high school if it does not take place in a high school? High schoolception? We have to go deeper. High School Musical 2 is what happens when you choose to be both team leader and singer. Thanks to choosing both basketball and theater, you can't focus and be good at one. Instead, you spread yourself too thin. Without that focus, there's no way you can get a college scholarship. So, how else can you get money for college? Student loans? Good luck with that. Disney Channel offers a brilliant solution. Why? A summer job, of course. But, as the trailer goes, quote, working for a country club is no vacation. Unquote. Much wow, so wisdom. Duh! Work is never a vacation. Unless you work full-time on your YT channel and you're earning from it. Don't look at me. I wouldn't know. Before I go all in, some background. HSM1 was absolutely huge. Xenon, Halloween Town, the Cheetah Girls may have gotten their own cinematic universes. Well, DCOM universes, not cinematic exactly. But they were never as big as the single HSM1 movie. The film soundtrack sold more than 3.7 million copies. The DVD, more than 7.5 million. These are impressive numbers. In the time when Wild West YT and yo ho, a pirate's life for me were already a thing. What followed this gargantuan success? A concert tour with Drew Seeley and Zac Efron having to fight for his right to have his voice be used in HSM2? An ice tour? Stage adaptations? A docu-musical? A literary universe? Video games? Flash games? Parodies in The Sweet Life of Zach Wakodi? And I'm pretty sure there were other shows that parodied HSM1. Promoting Hannah Montana anime, or as nobody called it, Hannah Montanime. HSM2 itself would be used to promote the triangle-headed boy and his hot dog-shaped half-brother. Fan fiction, including one of mine which is lost media, but let's not talk about that right now. Camp Rock, Glee, High School Musical Around the World, a deodorant ad campaign, a cash grab movie based on that ad campaign, my sibling's favorite TV show back in 2006-2007, and of course, 2 sequels. Note, what I mentioned all came out in the immediate aftermath of HSM1. I did not even mention the HSM TMTS. The House of Mouse returned to Utah, United States of America, for HSM2. The state government provided a production rebate of 500,000 United States dollars. This is where your taxes go, in exchange of, well, income and jobs. The House of Mouse returned briefly to East High for the opening number, but most of the film was set somewhere else. The inn at Entrada, or is it Entrada? English. St. George, Utah, served as the in-universe Lava Springs Country Club of the Evans, describing the Entrada as a summer camp is an interesting or interesting English interesting choice. Disney Channel went crowdsourcing for the little things, such as, quote, what's written on Mrs. Darbus's chalkboard? What kind of sandwich Troy packs for his picnic with Gabriella? The type of dessert Zeke bakes for Sharpay? And the clever sayings on Chad's t-shirts. Unquote. That poll is lost media, by the way. But I won't say anything more on that. I have long moved on from that dark community. So unwelcoming, it almost turned me into an asshole. Almost. By the way, those poll questions I mentioned are missing the most important one. Which Hannah Montana star do you want to appear in HSM2 Dreams Come True? I wonder if there's alternate versions of All for One featuring other Hannah Montana stars, just like SpongeBob's Shanghai. I can't be the only one who wants to see the HSM cast grinding to Don't Tell My Heart, My Achy Breaky Heart. Yeah, this was years before Old Town Road. HSM1 opened a lot of doors for its main cast, such as solo albums for Ashley Tisdale and Corbin Blue, and also Jump In. But when the sequel came knocking on their doorsteps, everyone jumped back in. Terrible rhyme, I know. No wonder no one's watching my poems. Even if we're all in this together, and all for one, we all know who that one is. That one star of this trilogy. I hope we do know who that one is. Bolton even gets his own song this time. And as I earlier mentioned, Efron fought for the right to have his voice be used in this movie. So, we have bet on it in Efron's own voice. A song which does not work narratively because he's supposed to be angry, not determined. After, spoilers, just finding out that the Wildcats would have to work during the talent show. And he has all the right to be upset because how would they cheat their way into both working and performing on the show at the same time, right? Or can they pull it off? Unfortunately, as always, I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we can get to that last C, we have to find out what kicks off the chaotic mess that is HSM2. Oh, I thought long and hard about using chaos as one of the C's to describe this movie. But there are other C's worth discussing on HSM2. The first C is caricature. The caricature not of team leader and singer Bolton, but of Sharpay Evans, who falls from grace, from rational antagonist to an unrelatable, and dare I say it, cartoonish villain. What happened with Sharpay is called Flanderization or Flanderization. I can always cite the great and mighty Free Wiki, and there's a citation. But why do that if I can always cite a thesis that in turn cites the most reliable dictionary of all, UrbanDictionary.com? Here's the definition on screen. Pause to read. 3, 2, 1, Patrick Star. This first C, caricature, is from my sibling G-G Arts. Support her work by clicking the links in the description. She explained, translating from the original Filipino, that Sharpay was professional in the first movie. She was not a bitchy dumb blonde. My sister could empathize with Evans because it was as if she was run out, expelled from her own home. The Filipino original is much stronger, although this one came from me. Quote, parang pinalayas sa sariling bahay. Unquote. I would add this. Evans's laurels were taken by people who can't even keep a commitment without cheating, who do not suffer any consequences for doing so, get to have their cake and eat it too. But in HSM2, my sibling said that Sharpay becomes obsessed with Bolton to the point that it is too annoying. Annoying in the sense that any complexity in her character is thrown away. Sharpay's motivation in HSM2 is irrational because she knew that Bolton was already in a relationship. Did the writers make it seem as if Sharpay merely wanted to steal Bolton from Montez because Montez stole, well, Sharpay's show in the first film? What a weak motivation for a complex character. This is now my take. Let me quote Sharpay in HSM1. Troy Bolton is not in my show. Unquote. How does HSM2 explain the change of heart? Because Bolton is the quote-unquote East High's primo boy and Sharpay is the quote-unquote primo girl? That makes no sense. Who East High's primo kids are don't matter. Since it's, well, summer. What time is it? Summertime. School's out. Scream and shout. But that lack of logic didn't matter. Evans would do everything to get Bolton, who she did not want to be in her own show in the first movie, to sing with her in HSM2. By making Sharpay devious and demanding from poor Fulton, she becomes a clear-cut, black and white Disney villain. The sympathy from her being shoved aside after years of honing her craft in HSM1 disappears completely. She becomes spoiled for the flimsiest motivation imaginable. The damage from HSM2 extends to the third movie, According to G-G Arts, being an aspiring performer, Sharpay should have handled her scene with Rocketman more professionally, since she was trained to be good at theater. Granted, Rocketman bungled his performance. The original Filipino word my sibling used was much stronger. Binalahura. Rocketman balahurad the performance by dressing weirdly and singing ridiculously. In contrast, HSM1 showed how seriously Evans treated theater. Then again, HSM3 Sharpay is a far cry from HSM1 Sharpay. And one can still argue that she was grossed out by Rocketman for his unprofessionalism throughout the spring musical. Who knows? The whole thing was simply another comic device to make Sharpay look like a villain. This is now me speaking. Evans was grossed out with Rocketman not because she could predict the future, but because she still wanted to sing with Bolton and not anyone else. In HSM3, she does everything she could to make that happen. This time without Fulton at her beck and call. Newsflash! Doing everything humanly possible just to be able to sing with Bolton? Unless your name is Gabriela Montes. That never goes well. It's as if Sharpay Evans didn't learn anything from HSM2 going into HSM3. To summarize, Sharpay was flanderized with a character trait that did not exist in HSM1. Being a Bolton stan. Any nuance in her character was yeeted out of the window. Let's go to the second C. Sharpay Evans' grand plan to get Bolton to sing with her, puro na na, eh. I won't explain that here, GMG. C number 2 is corruption. First, definition. Welcome to a law meets BTIN, law meets baliktanaw aside. You may be asking yourself, how can there be corruption in the second movie when no public official, no government is involved? That's what's in the definition of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, an international agreement among countries. The involvement of a public officer or the government. However, the same convention also requires countries to prevent corruption involving the private sector. Remember what happened to Enron, Lehman Brothers, recently FTX, and of course, Krusty Krab? That's because of the abuse of the executives, of the leadership, of those in power. That's what corruption is all about. Abuse of power. Abuse of influence. And that's your law meets BTIN, law meets balik tanaw. I'm interested to know, what laws in your country prevent and punish corruption in the private sector, in businesses? I'm curious to know. Comment on the YT or Odyssey page of this video. What is the corruption in HSM2 Dreams Come True? Sharpay Evans does everything in her power, not even as a co-owner but as the child of the co-owner, and not really as the child of the co-owner, because Lava Springs Country Club is owned by a corporation, not by the Evans parents. Mr. Fulton mentions discussing the manner of hiring the Wildcats with the Lava Springs board, meaning a board of directors, the leadership of a corporation. Briefly, a corporation is considered a person by law that has a separate and distinct personality from the stockholders who own shares in the country club. For more details, check out my video that, isn't doing too hot. For purposes of today, let's just simplify everything as Sharpay being in a position of power. And what is her barking orders to Fulton? Quote, "If you can't fire them, make them wanna quit." Unquote. Thus, Fulton must turn the lives of the Wildcats, by Wildcats I mean Montez, and only Montez, potato. You don't see Fulton throwing a Sharpay fit into Danforth, Chad, not Giga Chad, or Makesi, or Kelsey, or Zeke, or Martha, or Jason, not Earls. Fulton must turn, Montez's life into a living hell, a job that Fulton is frustrated with. Fulton makes this obvious to Sharpay, but his pleas fall on deaf ears. Fulton also makes this obvious to Bolton in the lead-up to the deleted Humuhumunukunuku Apua scene. By the way, Hawaiians who are watching this video, is Humuhumunukunuku Apua in HSM2 cultural appropriation? And if yes, is this bad? Is cultural appropriation bad? Comment on the YT or Odyssey page of this video. But Fulton's boiling point is when he hands out the memos to Makesi that staff would be required to work during the talent show. I'd like to quote this breakdown in full because it perfectly captures the essence, the frustrations of adulting. Quote, "This is a business. Welcome to the world of adults who wish to keep their jobs because they have mortgages they wish to pay, tuition bills, car payments, etc., etc., etc. So, sometimes we have to perform these tasks, however unpleasant, that are necessary for that all too important paycheck to land in our all too empty pockets." Unquote. By the way, I love how Makesi responds to this, asking Fulton for a ride and tea. Very mature. No. Very adulting. What I'm saying is this. When we were young, we sympathized with the Wildcats. But now that we're old, we sympathize with Fulton. Just like how that SpongeBob saying goes. Allow me to put this image in your head. Sharpay Evans is Mr. Eugene H. Krabs, and Mr. Fulton is Squidward Tentacles. May that haunt your nightmares tonight. But you see, Sharpay isn't the only one to blame here. She's not the only one corrupt. How did HSM2 producer Bill Borden tease the movie? Quote, "Does he, Bolton, sell out and go for Sharpay's world? Or does he decide to be true to himself?" Talking about that he now, the real protagonist of the HSM trilogy. There's a reason Zac Efron is the biggest star of all the Wildcats, more than a decade later. It should be apparent why Efron is the Shia LaBeouf of his generation. Hello, Captain Obvious. You may be scratching your head now. How is Bolton corrupt in this movie? He rejected all the excesses Sharpay was giving to him. A promotion from a kitchen job to golf pros assistant, country club membership privileges, and of course that all too important plot point from HSM1, a basketball scholarship with a university that closed down in 1986. Wait a minute. This begs the question. Is the trilogy set before 1986? If so, why are there personal computers in HSM1 and 3? Oh wait, that's not the right question to ask. I remember Edgar. Okay, how about this? Why are there cell phones in HSM1? Oh yeah, again, there was a beeper in the concert in Electric Dreams. But that was a beeper, not a flip phone. Not a phone that is a brick. Is this what happens when Marty McFly screws up the timelines by going 88 miles per hour multiple times? Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. Bolton rejected everything Evans offered to him, just to sing with her. He rejected them for his friends. Oh, I have some choice words about that, but I'll get to it in a bit. Sure, he renounced all those benefits. But Bolton is not off the hook. Yes, he himself was corrupt. Let me explain. At this point, the movie is not honest with us. Let's go back to the scene which sets the story of HSM2 Dreams Come True in motion. Bolton gets a phone call from Fulton, who presumably offers him work at Lava Springs over the summer. The job offer is cut from the movie, thanks to Danforth teasing that Montez has already gone her own way, but can be implied from the preceding line. Quote, I understand you've been looking for summer work. Unquote. And Bolton's reply. Quote, that sounds fantastic, Mr. Fulton. End quote. Fulton then mentions that the country club has always had a student summer work program. Here is where the movie becomes sly and devious. Bolton proceeds to mention Montez, a quote, the most amazing girl, student, straight A's, quintuple straight A's, and it would be so amazingly perfect if, unquote. Why would Bolton mention his partner during a job offer? Notice that the conversation trails off and we never get to hear it anymore. So, we have to put on our detective hats and dive deeply into the context clues. Eventually, all the Wildcats from East High get into Lava Springs. How? What does Fulton tell Sharpay? Quote, you told me to hire Troy Bolton, whatever it takes. Unquote. The screenwriter straight up admits that Bolton pulled the strings. Here's my point. Me speaking as an adult. The adult thing for Bolton to do when offered a job at Lava Springs is simply to decide. Yes or no. What is not the adult thing to do is to Ask someone making a job offer to hire your friends too. Bolton isn't even working at Lava Springs yet. He hasn't accepted the offer. He didn't even submit an application. He didn't get to face a panel of interviewers. The nerve of this kiddo to ask for a favor, to pull strings like a puppet master. In Filipino, we call that, ang kapal naman ng muka. So if all the Wildcats were Filipinos, they would owe a debt of gratitude, utang na loob, to Bolton. Their employment in Lava Springs is the result of Bolton's corruption. And the Wildcats are aware of that fact. The song Work This Out implies, quote, I don't recall you mentioning the boss is such a creep, end quote. But since the Wildcats are not Filipinos, they resent Bolton when he is showered with all these gifts. But knowing that they were in Lava Springs in the first place, thanks to Bolton pulling strings for them, do they quit? Well, if you've seen the movie Hello, Captain Obvious, the principled thing to do is what Montez did. Quote, gotta go my own way. Unquote. Leave Lava Springs. My dear viewers, put yourself in the shoes of a wildcat. Will you really stay for that money that you wouldn't otherwise have because of that guy who you forsake? Is it really worth giving up what little dignity you have for money? I've made a lot of painful decisions in my life. Most importantly, being a content creator and running this YouTube channel that barely anyone watches and sticking by it for the past more than 3 years. I earn a very small amount, enough for 1 meal a month, thanks to my one patron. I recognize that I may never earn a living from doing these things at all. But that is better than owning all my income, all my earnings from corruption, from exploiting connections, from abuse of power and influence, from begging on my knees, and from sucking up to so-called friends who will never like, share, and comment on my videos, will never subscribe and ring the bell, and will certainly never support me, either through engagements which are free, or on Patreon, on PayPal, or with crypto. Except for my one patron. To you, thank you. Finally, the last C. Cheating. Sharpay moved the schedule of the callbacks in HSM1. Is this cheating? Yes. But it's also a test of commitment, which the Wildcats pass by hacking the system. I already talked about this in my HSM1 review. In HSM2, Sharpay orders Fulton to turn the lives of the Wildcats working in Lava Springs, again, by Wildcats, I mean Montez, into a living hell. Is that corruption? Definitely. Is that cheating? You could make a case for that. You'd definitely point out that Evans not only winning every Star Dazzle award, but also denying the Wildcats the time-honored tradition of staff performing during the talent show as, well, hallmarks of cheating. But deceiving Bolton that Sharpay changed songs to get him to perform with Montez on stage, and consequently deny Sharpay the chance to perform on that same platform, that is skin-crawlingly despicable. This is Evans's, by Evans I mean Ryan now. This is Ryan's way of becoming, quote, a man of his own, unquote. Disclaimer, not my words, but by the then Senior Vice President of Original Movies for Disney Channel. Man, I wonder how producer, director, and choreographer Kenny Ortega felt about that. Back to the point. Ryan and the Wildcats lying to Bolton that Sharpay changed songs, and by extension, Sharpay moving the schedule of the callbacks, and the Wildcats hacking the system and setting off toxic chemicals in return. Two wrongs do not make a right. In the second movie in a row, Wildcats get to have their cake and eat it too. Couldn't the Wildcats, including Ryan, have at least given Sharpay and Bolton their time in the spotlight? Did the Wildcats really care about winning the Star Dazzle Award, knowing whose family owned the country club? Because if they did not care about that award, then why did they have to make sure Sharpay won't be able to perform on stage? Now you'd say, wait a minute, isn't Sharpay in every day? Yes, she was. But was it her number? Her performance? Even if she just took Puro Nana, You Are the Music in Me from Bolton and Montez, why take Sharpay's time in the spotlight away from her? A wrong never corrects a wrong. Two wrongs never make a right. HSM2 is a painful watch. It's pure chaos, from the plot to the Puro Nana. But part 2, this black sheep middle child that still holds the ratings record for the Mouse channel, that, went kaput in the name of House of Mouse Plus, so that record will probably never be beaten. HSM2 Dreams Come True is still relevant because it's not like HSM1 and 3. Those two are forever stuck in high school, unlike us who have grown out of our Peter Pan phase and have to adult. HSM2 is still relevant because we as adults still encounter corruption, all the more now than before. Hell, we can be guilty of it ourselves. The little things can snowball into mountains of unearned wealth and undeserved privilege. That slippery slope. We destroy every last shred of integrity that we have in order to survive and thrive in this dog-eat-dog world. Stepping out of East High was the best choice because that assured HSM2's timelessness. But this movie failed to teach us that the best thing to do is to walk away. And that's okay. Walk with your head up high. Surrender, but don't give yourself away. Or be a snarky Squidward, I guess. There's one more way to enjoy this movie, and the whole trilogy, in fact. That is by playing a drinking game. Probably I should have turned this series of reviews into a drinking game instead. For example, drink every time a whimsy Troyella Gabroy Salmonella scene comes up on screen. A drinking game would certainly gain more views. Disqualification from monetization, to be sure. But it might just go viral. But I don't drink. Just like how I don't dance. And how I don't do TikTok. By the way, I don't dance. I know a former colleague who was so happy when she got to watch baseball for the first time in her life. Even posted about it as a story on a social media platform. Guess she never saw HSM2 Dreams Come True. What did you think of this movie? Of the whole trilogy? Do you agree with my look back? Disagree? Any violent reactions? Did you learn anything new? Comment on the YT or Odyssey page of this video. Please like and share this video across social media. Please subscribe and ring the bell. And check out other Emir's BTIN, Baliktanaw / In Hindsight videos. Support the show on Patreon, on PayPal, or through crypto. Thank you to my sibling G-G Arts for my avatar and for her insights for the script of this review. Check out and support her work by clicking the links in the description. Join me and subscribe to me on Odyssey. Link is also in the description. I really hope this series of reviews pay off. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and take care.